Hey everyone, this is Sho, and thank you so much for checking the video. Today we have another TAC review where we look at a game's tactics, AI, and cheese, and break it down to see how it fares for newcomers and veterans to the genre. Before we start, if you enjoyed the content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Every little bit helps the channel and the community grow, and as a personal goal for myself, I'd like to aim for 200 subscribers by the year's end. So thank you for sending that love, it really is much appreciated. Now, for today's review, we're going to be looking at the recently released Blue Reflection Second Light. Let's check it out. Blue Reflection Second Light, otherwise known as Blue Reflection Tai in Japan, is the sequel to the original Blue Reflection released in 2017 for the PS4 and Vita. Sadly, the original was received as average from many critics, and ultimately was considered more or less as a hidden gem from fans. However, luckily for us, with the recent revitalization of Gust games in its recent Atelier series, Blue Reflection is back with an anime, a mobile game, and this, which, at least for me, is fantastic as a Gust fan. With that said, the game does follow the typical Gust formula that you may be familiar with. You know, the cute girls wearing cute clothes throwing bombs. However, in this game, we're just substituting the bombs with magical bullets. The game is told from the perspective of Ao, as she returns to her high school during summer break for makeup classes. Upon her return, she is, along with her school, unknowingly and unwillingly spirited away to a realm between realms that can materialize dreamscapes known as the Kokoro Top or Heartscape in the English demo. These are based on the memories of those trapped in the realm. Real quick on the side, I'm not sure how Gust and Koei Tecmo will be handling the full translations of some of these concepts, so I'll just refer to the original Japanese unless I have a confirmation otherwise. If something is changed after release, I'll try and annotate it or pin it in a comment. Anyway, while in this realm, Ao meets other girls who have been trapped just like her, and together as a team, they explore the heartscapes of each other, looking for supplies to survive their day-to-day life, while searching for a way to exit this reality. Naturally, the heartscapes are populated by monsters looking to harm our protagonists, but by using the power of the reflector, they are able to materialize magical girl powers to defend themselves. So, typical anime tropes aside, the only thing I'd like to discuss is the tone. Gust games in general, especially the Atelier series, tend to be light in nature with occasional darker events happening. From my own experience, I think the Dusk series was likely the most dark Atelier ever. What separates Blue Reflection from the typical involves a more emotional slice of life storytelling with a surreal horror tone. The school life of the girls heavily involves their personal growth and learning to cope with their flaws and issues that are made manifest via the heartscapes. This leads to generally touching moments in the story that give a real warm, heartfelt vibe. Now, this is placed in juxtaposition to the actual visuals and art style of the heartscapes, which I can only describe as beautiful apocalyptic. The game is absolutely vibrant in its colors and extremely graphically, aesthetically pleasing to look at. Overall, its visuals support its juxtaposition of tones, and for that, I love it. Speaking of tone, as I mentioned in my first thoughts video, Asano-san is back with music and once again is using an excellent range of heartfelt warming by the fireplace with high energy battle tracks to get you straight into the fray. There's quite a few returning tracks as well. A personal favorite track for me is Breakthrough.exe, which is used very well in firing me up in preparation for some of the bigger battles. So check it out after this video. Now finally, and probably most importantly, I want to touch upon the performance of the game itself. Now, I mentioned in my first thoughts video that while I felt the visuals were beautiful in design, there was an issue with the actual performance. This is indeed the case. I had zero issues with it affecting gameplay, so no PowerPoint slides going on here. However, there are noticeable drops in visual acuity. I mean, one particular scene during the first Heartscape, the edges of the characters were just extremely pixelated, and it really didn't do the scene justice. Now, personally, I'm willing to overlook these flaws as I'm very invested in the mechanics and the story, but it honestly really looked like a rendering of a PS2 or even PS1 era game, which I found to be very disappointing. So if visual acuity is your thing, consider checking this out on PC or PS4 5. Otherwise, be prepared for something that plays very well, but sadly cannot shine at its brightest on the Switch. It's fitting to note the difference of tone between the day-to-day school life and the hardscape exploration, as this effectively sets up two individual but very well-connected systems that you'll need to master for success. Now there's a lot to cover, so strap in. We'll start with the school life, as understanding that part is integral for your combat success. Also, I'd like to point out that while there are no spoilers in this review, you won't be finished unlocking most of this until early to mid Chapter 2, maybe even Chapter 3, which is about 7 to 8 or so hours into the game. So be advised of that point. This game really likes to ease you in slowly. Now, the school life component is broken down into 4 key sections: crafting, school development, fragments, and talents, and they all flow into each other. Crafting is back from the original Blue Reflection and has been greatly improved upon. Similar to the Atelier or the mainline Atelier series, you'll be able to collect items and components in the field and use them to produce crafting materials for the school and consumable items for battle. This time around, you can choose specific items to use within an item type, which could impact the sort of effects your crafted items have. This is not as robust as the mainline Atelier series, so you don't need to worry about synthesis limitations, elements, or etc. A new mechanic added to this is the unit synthesis. Basically, as you gather party members, you can select up to 4 to make a unit that will provide additional benefits for your items. For instance, one unit can dramatically increase the healing effectiveness of a synthesized item, while another can enhance secondary buff effects. This adds a nice touch on the system, letting you experiment with different units to produce better or different consumable items. School development ties directly into the crafting mechanic then. As you progress through the game, you'll receive requests from your party members on what new additions the school should get to make your daily life better. These are fairly humorous in nature, with a shaved ice stand being one of the first added. To build, you'll need to unlock the recipe, then craft the materials needed. Once you have both, you can build the addition on an open lot somewhere on the school grounds. Once placed, it provides some passive bonus to your team, such as a small boost to attack or defense. There are also additional bonuses that can be unlocked via upgrading the additions, and set bonuses if you create specific additions that pair together. Finally, they also provide meeting or date spots for your party members to develop their bonds and produce fragments. Fragments work as a sort of equipment system. You'll receive most of your fragments through dating with classmates. Yes, the game does specifically call it a date. Anyway, sometimes you'll get a message on your phone or you'll see a special mark above the head of your member. This will likely signify a date can be had. If you choose to do so, your party member will follow you around the school until you make it to the date location. Once there, you'll witness some cutscenes and be asked to provide 3 responses to some questions. Your choices will usually impact what fragment gets generated. Fragments themselves are broken down into 7 or so categories, with red being offensive boosting, blue being defensive boosting, purple being always active, green being recovery, orange being infighting, yellow being support, and pink granting new skills. Additionally, all fragments have an equip cost which can increase via the talents. Talents then are the last part of the school life and is essentially a skill point system. As you go on dates, develop the school, and complete individual side quests, your members will increase their talent level and earn talent points. These can be redeemed for stat bonuses, special effects, and enhancements to your crafting. At first, only a limited number of skills are available. However, as you progress and achieve certain milestones, more will be unlocked. In terms of discussing all of this, it's nothing that veterans of JRPGs, especially the Atelier series, aren't familiar with. In fact, these systems are watered down and introduced at a reasonable pace, making it easy to pick up for newcomers. Needless to say, all of this funnels into the combat system, which has gone a substantial overhaul. Combat is a variation of an active time battle system with an emphasis on resource management. You can field 3 girls and 1 supporter in the back. The battle party members take their turns by charging ether and unleashing attacks. Ether is generated automatically as the battle progresses, and skills can be used dynamically as their ether costs are met. Additionally, ether is capped by your gear level. Gear levels are limiters of sort that release as you successfully perform actions during battle. As your gear level increases, newer and stronger attacks become available, eventually culminating in a transformation to your reflector form. This provides a boost to your stats and also allows you to access even more skills. Speaking of skills, weaknesses have been implemented that allow enemies to resist or take more damage based on the type of skill used. You can buff and debuff as any typical RPG, and a knockdown mechanic has been added which is visible via a circle around the enemy. Basically, the more you hit weaknesses, the higher chance of a knockdown. This stuns the enemy, debuffs it, and lets you go ham hard. This is further expanded by the combo system. Essentially, the more hits you land consecutively increases a bonus multiplier that boosts your damage output. In all, boost combos and knock down as much as possible. However, not all enemies drop when this happens. Some stronger monsters, especially boss types, force a barrier, shifting the goal to using piercing skills indicated by a fist next to the skill's name to break the barrier. Once shattered, a new mechanic for blue reflection, the infight mechanic, gets triggered. Infighting is basically a dueling mechanic where, for a limited amount of time, the girl that shatters the barrier goes toe-to-toe. You are given 4 commands: attack, buff, dodge, and counter. The goal here is to inflict as much damage as possible while dodging and countering as much as you can. Luckily, the game provides an easy-to-follow timeline that lets you know when an attack is coming. However, keep note that your skills have a cooldown, so should you mispress, you may find yourself at the end of a powerful hit. Should you successfully navigate the infight, you'll be treated to a special super attack that causes tremendous damage to the target. Finally, you have the aforementioned supporter that helps the party. This girl will be cycling a countdown that after 2 to 3 rotations will be used as supporting heal or buff spell on the entire party. Each girl has 2 skills that they use in this role, and you'll be able to see the skills by pressing the Y button to open the menu. While in this menu, you can also allow the supporter to use an item in your inventory. The item will be subjected to a 1-turn cooldown, but you won't need to waste your party's battle turn, which is nice. Additionally, the supporter can be swapped out in place of that battle party member if you need access to their unique skills or abilities, or if one of your party members falls and you can't revive them. In summary, the battle system combines a multitude of interlocking systems that at times gets a bit chaotic to navigate. I'm sure veterans can pick up on the subtleties quickly, however, you still may find yourself getting a bit overwhelmed, especially dealing with multiple enemies at the same time. For newcomers, the overall system can be overwhelming, and some battles you have can be panicking. However, keep in mind what I said at the start of this section. Most of these mechanics are introduced over the course of 7 to 8 or more hours of gameplay, so you'll have plenty of practice with each stage before the next part. Whew! Alright, so now that we've gone through that massive dump of an explanation, let's get into the AI. Hopefully short and sweet now. Blue Reflection Second Light offers an easy mode and a normal mode from the get-go. Plans to drop a hard or challenge mode are happening now and will likely be released in late November or December from the time of this video. Naturally, I went with normal mode as usual. In keeping with the darker surreal tones of the hardscapes, you're never really presented as weak, however you are also not presented as overly strong. This is one of those games that being over-leveled doesn't necessarily make you a complete bad butt. It just allows you to keep a reasonable difficulty. Naturally, going back to lower-leveled hardscapes will have you steamrolling, but in terms of progression, you're likely not to be over-leveled by the time you reach the boss. Furthermore, XP gains will even out 1 or 2 levels above the zone. So, unless if you plan on doing the Persona 5 1 to 99 in Kamoshida's Palace challenge, you're never going to be out of place. I personally appreciate this. You see, in many cases you can speed through the field battles by landing a sneak attack and an instant break. But if you miss time or misselect, you may be taking a few hard hits from basic enemies. This adds to the challenge as there are no healing spells usable outside of battle, so any recovery outside of combat requires item consumption, and that may be troublesome as those items are super valuable in mid-boss and final boss fights. The bosses themselves always seem to be matched just right for my level, and require careful planning and a calm mind to beat down. It may seem like a good idea to rush in and nail them, but many have special AoE high damage skills that require precise timing with defenses and item usage. So again, being careful and aware of the battle's flow is paramount in getting ahead in this game. To summarize, The game always provides a certain level of challenge that is just right for the average player, thereby making it really accessible for newcomers and veterans who are looking for an enjoyable experience. Since the carbonara of power leveling doesn't seem to be working as much as usual, what can we say about the cheese? I suppose easy mode is a choice, but that defeats the purpose of this section. Well, see that fragment? Rike no Kinsen? It allows you to gain extra HP anytime you gain HP from items or skills. This is super helpful in mitigating damage from bosses when in gear level 3. See this one here? Nukin detta Netsui? This grants extra healing skills to girls that may not have access to them. This is super helpful, as Reina is basically the only healer early on for the first 2 chapters or so. Also, if you haven't played the demo, do so and get the demo fragment. It provides a boost to attack and defense at low gear levels. Now, see that beach stand in the chairs? Keep up with your school development. Each offers bonuses to attack and defense. As you upgrade them, new bonuses are unlocked, and passive stat bonuses also increase. In later levels, I think around Chapter 5 or Chapter 7, XP gains are included in that. Also, be sure to pack your bentos, double or triple up on the fried eggs and sandwiches, especially the ones that give a boost to attack. It's nice to do some extra damage during a knockdown. And invest in Kokoro. She's completely stacked with every possible status effect in the game. Her talents also help with landing those effects more easily. So it's nice to see those enemies miss them skills when blinded. Memes and tropes aside, by combining an eclectic range of familiar mechanics with an emotional narrative, Blue Reflection Second Light is a solid JRPG that fans of the genre would connect with, and it also makes for an excellent level of strategy for those who are looking for a good challenge with a battle system. The pacing and support makes it easy for newcomers to get into, while providing those many systems that veterans can enjoy with optimizing. I feel that it's very rare to see a game that combines so many systems all in service to the narrative that harmonize with each other so well. Well, thank you for making it to the end of this video. This script took me a bit longer to make given the brevity of the systems involved. However, I wanted to give this review as much justice as I possibly could. Also, a really big, heartfelt thanks to all of my subscribers. I am super moved to see the continued growth bit by bit. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the content again, please like the video and subscribe to the channel to send your love. Also, leave me some comments on your thoughts of the game, and let me know if you played the original. I would love to see if anyone else actually checked this out way back in 2017. Well, finally, thanks for watching, and remember, if the going gets tough, let's switch strats. Cheers!